Hello and welcome to Feagan and Finch, the podcast where we discuss everything football related. I'm Alex Finch.
And I'm Ryan Feagan. Let's talk football.
So this week, the 12th podcast of Feagan and Finch, we're going to be talking about a very, very good topic. A topic we love. Transfers, clubs we love, mixing them together, thinking about the best players in the world, but they might not have been the best players in the world at that point. We're talking about players who have gone to clubs for small fees, done wonders at those clubs, and are now called bargains. That's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the biggest bargains in world football. So we talked about before the biggest flops in world football. It's complete opposite this week, the biggest bargains. And I think to make it a bit fairer, because what do we mean by bargains? It could mean so many things. You could class so many different players as bargains. We're going to put in some conditions to narrow that down. So firstly, we're not allowing free transfers into this. You can, I guess you could be a bargain if you're a free transfer, but it doesn't feel right. You don't go to the supermarket and get something for free and say it's a bargain. It's just a freebie.
No, and also, Finch, we have done a good old transfer, like the best transfers. We deal a bunch of free transfers on that topic. So
definitely. And to narrow it down a bit more, obviously, we've got to put some price boundaries in. So there's no free transfers, but also you can't be a bargain in our eyes if you're priced above 30 mil. So which now it might be a little bit of a bargain, but you're not going to be one of the best bargains in world football over the last 25 years. So to make sure we've got a narrowed down set of players, there's no free transfers, and the price of the transfer has to be under 30 mil. And just one more condition, and that last condition is we're talking about the last 25 years. So anything before that, it's not really in our range, because a lot of those transfers, well, all those transfers would be under 30 mil because no one broke the 30 mil
that's
record
how much the market's changed. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's also why we're not doing that, because you could have got a player 1970 for 20 grand, and he might have done wonders. But then 20 grand back then would have been quite a lot. So
like Pele going to America for like 2 mil or whatever. It's not a bargain back in them days.
Definitely. And it just makes more sense. So we'll do it this way. Because you could have had Shearer, but what was he? Broke the British transfer record for 18 mil. You could say he was a bargain, but yeah, that's why we're not doing it in that time period. So moving on. As always, Ryan, you can start us off.
Yep.
Who's your first pick for the biggest bargain in world football?
My first pick might very well be our number one pick as the biggest bargain. I'm starting off strong. I'm taking you back, Finch, to the summer of 2008. It was the takeover of Man City. Oof. It was Vincent Kompany to Man City from Hamburg, £6 million. And you think,
what a shout.
You think of all what Vincent Kompany has done for Man City in these last 11 years that he was at the club. He has won countless Premier League titles, countless League Cups. He's won the FA Cup, scored some very, very important goals. I'm going back to last season, that absolute screamer against Leicester to pretty much guarantee them the title, secure his legendary status, and end his Man City career on the biggest high that you can get. I really do think we're going to struggle to top this one as the biggest bargain of the last 25 years.
Definitely, and what a player he is! I'd pay £6 million to keep him, or to keep me company. But yeah, what a player is! What a player! See what I did there? What a player!
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
22 years old when he moved from Hamburg to Man City, and that £6 million is just £1 million more than what Man City paid for Tal Ben Haim, £4 million less than what they paid for Wayne Bridge. It's a crazy figure, and that was obviously before they got the takeover. And he's got 4 Premier League titles, and when he came to Man City, they had 0 Premier League titles. So that says it all.
Man City weren't a big club back then.
But every single Premier League. Every single Premier League Man City have won, he's been involved in.
Yeah.
He's been involved in every single competition they've won.
Scored some very, very vital goals, but you know, that's what you got the attackers for. Company's put a big shift in at the back. He's really solidified that Man City defence.
Mm. And the thing is, with Company, you can always tell how important and how good a player is after they've left, and what the club does next, and if you can see a hole missing. And with Company, you can clearly see Man City are nowhere near as good at the back. Since he's left, it's not just him playing, it's also his influence in the dressing room and obviously supporting the other centre-back. Since he's left, they just haven't been the same at the back at all. And that's probably one of the reasons why this season they've conceded a lot more goals and just haven't seemed as solid.
Haven't really been able to challenge as much for the title either.
No, not at all. And you see Company, he got into the Premier League Team of the Year 3 times. And you obviously got to be a very good centre-back to get into that Premier League Team of the Year. He was voted Premier League Player of the Year 2011, 2012. That's voted for by the fans. Got the Man City Player of the Year, of course. Man City Players Player of the Year 2010, 2011. Also got the Supporters Player of the Year that year as well. That just shows how good he was. And he got the Player of the Year in this time period for Man City. And this is when they had signed the likes of Yaya Toure, David Silva, Sergio Aguero. They've spent 40, 50,
Carlos
60
Tevez.
million. Carlos Tevez. They spent so much money on these big names for huge money. And it was Company who just cost 6 million. And he got the Player of the Year. He was the most important player in some of these periods. Maybe not the whole period. You could argue Silva, Aguero, Yaya Toure also have a claim to being the most important player in that period, but he was definitely the biggest bargain in that period. That's for certain. Because Man City haven't been signing players for 6 million ever since. He's probably the last one they signed for that fee who was at his kind of level.
Yeah.
And you just look now, they've just tried to sign another centre-back. Well, they have signed, didn't try and sign, they did sign another centre-back very recently. I think about a week ago, Nathan Ake. And they signed him for 41 million. And he's a very good centre-back, but he's nowhere near Company's level. And that's where you can see the bargain comes in. 6 million for Company, who went on to be one of the best, if he not best, centre-back in the league at that point.
So he's been the best. We could argue that he's been the best centre-back in the league for the last 10 years, Finch. Definitely up there in the top 3, alongside John Terry and Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, definitely. And then you see what 40 million gets you nowadays. How have Man City tried to buy another centre-back? They bought Ake for 40 million. He's a centre-back who's very good, but I can't see him going on to the levels Company went on to.
Definitely not.
I just can't see it. And like you said, Company has, I think the first 3-4 years in England, he was probably up there being the best centre-back, maybe. Obviously, in his latter part of his career, although that guy at Leicester will make him go down in history. He didn't actually play that much, if I remember right.
No, he was
20 appearances
actually,
most seasons.
If I'm correct, he wasn't actually a defender when he first got brought in. He was actually a centre midfielder. But then he got put in at centre-back, and he just, ever since then, he's stuck there. Yeah.
Anyway, that was, I think it's from 2008 to about 2015, he was absolutely unstoppable. And then I think the last 4 years, 2015 to 2019, he never really made more than 17 Premier League appearances a season just because of his injuries. But whenever he played, this also showed his class. You know a player's class when, even if they get injured, when they come straight back, they're so important and still play. He was still an unbelievable player when he played, coming back from injury in those last four years. And that shows the levels he was at. It didn't matter if he got injured for a spell. He could come straight back in the team and still perform at unbelievable levels. I only remember a handful of games where he was poor. Yeah. And those were really because he was unfit. But whenever he played, he was absolutely unbelievable. And he had a specific type. The best thing about him, the Company, what I can remember, is you always like players when you can remember specific move, specific skill, specific set defensive skills, let's say, from a player. And Company always seemed to have that, like, almost sliding. He slid his foot out to get the ball and anticipated it, and he always had that nailed on all the time. It wasn't like a proper slide tackle. It was almost, he was reaching out and lengthening his leg just to grab the ball from a player, and he was always unbelievable at it. And his timing and his anticipation, just absolutely unbelievable. And I think he could be the biggest bargain out there.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one to find someone who has done as what he has done for less or just a little bit more.
And we're just talking about his defensive skills. He obviously left by getting the goal of the season
Oh yeah, without doubt.
It was last year, wasn't it? So against Leicester, that was the goal
yeah,
of the year,
last year.
which is crazy. But yeah, I think he's got to be up there.
Yeah,
what a shout! What a shout he is!
What a way to start the podcast off.
What a way! It's gonna be hard to follow now, you know. And
I apologise, Finch.
I think the only way to follow up a player who was so good and for that price is to follow up with another player who was equally as good for a cheaper price.
Ooh.
And he wasn't a defender, he was an attacker and scored goals for fun. He still scores goals for fun now. You saw him the other night against Chelsea scoring 2 goals for Bayern, but I'm talking about when he went from Lech Poznan to Borussia Dortmund for just 4 million. Back in 2010, we had that massive volcanic ash cloud that was in the news everywhere at that point. It seemed like before then, Lewandowski's going to fly to Blackburn Rovers. 2010, he's going to go to Blackburn, going to set the world alight at Blackburn. But then that ash cloud came in. He couldn't come by an aeroplane to the UK.
So they cancelled the flights.
Yeah, cancelled the flights. So went straight to Dortmund instead. And he probably had a lucky escape there, but I went to Dortmund instead and got 103 goals and 187 games for Dortmund. And that's where he made himself one of the deadliest strikers in our game, really.
Yeah.
He hasn't really looked back, in my opinion, since. It's just been absolutely unbelievable.
He's been in the Bundesliga. Yeah.
And people forget, he won at Dortmund. He didn't just score goals. He won 2 Bundesligas. That's when he was at Dortmund, that's the last time a different club won the Bundesliga outside of Bayern. And he obviously went to Bayern and then won Bundesliga after Bundesliga. There's won Bundesligas every year at Bayern. The only thing against him is that he hasn't won the Champions League. But apart from that, the individual accolades absolutely crazy. He's been the Bundesliga team of the year basically nearly every season, I think, since he's been in Germany.
I'm pretty sure that's safe to say, yeah, he has.
Yeah.
And what to say, he's not going to win the Champions League, Finch. This season, they look monstrous. Absolutely monstrous. Lewandowski shows no mercy. I think he got 14 goals already this Champions League campaign, and they do not look like stopping.
Yeah, completely. And he's actually been the Bundesliga team of the year every season since 2012, 13, and that shows how good he's been. And to almost instantly come from the Polish league to the Bundesliga and score goals with fun, that shows absolute levels. 4 million. It's absolutely crazy. And if we were counting free transfers, he'd be up there as well from Dortmund to Bayern.
Oh, without a doubt. Probably one of the greatest free transfers of all time. That is just his goals itself speak for him. But he is a fantastic player. He got 2 assists last night. We're recording this on the Sunday just after Bayern trounced Chelsea last night, and Lewandowski had a hand in every single goal. 2 goals and 2 assists. So he's got that to his game as well. He's not just a fantastic goal scorer. He's also a fantastic playmaker.
Yeah, definitely. And he scored over 200 goals in the Bundesliga now, which is absolutely astronomical. That's quite a long word, actually.
That's a big word.
It is a big word, but he's reached that mark quicker than any other foreign player, and is the league's all-time leading foreign goal scorer, which says something as well. That shows his impact in that league to be the league's all-time leading foreign goal scorer. And obviously, he's got so many records, and probably the one which stands out at Dortmund, if we're just talking about his time at Dortmund, because that's what we're talking about, the bargain transfer to Dortmund. So his time at Dortmund was establishing himself as a bargain. So the thing which stands out for me is that 5-goal haul against I think there was a 4-goal haul, wasn't it, against Real Madrid? But also
it was the 5 goals at Bayern.
5 goals at Bayern he had, didn't he, against 5 goals in 9 minutes against Wolfsburg. But in terms of being at Dortmund, he got those 4 goals against Real Madrid, and that was absolutely unbelievable. And something unheard of, really, to get 4 goals against Real Madrid.
Against that Real Madrid side, back in 2012 was a fantastic feat.
Definitely, and that obviously went on. They went on that year, didn't they, to get to the Champions League final?
2013, sorry, not 2012.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's just an absolutely incredible player, and people forget his time at Dortmund, and people probably just don't give him enough appreciation because he's playing in the Bundesliga, and most of the attention goes in the Premier League or La Liga, really,
Hmm.
or now Juventus a bit more with Ronaldo. So he just doesn't get the attention he probably deserves because the Bundesliga just isn't as fashionable, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe something like
Yeah,
that.
you don't see him being mentioned with Ronaldo, Messi,
No.
Neymar even. You just don't see him. Even like recent years, people have mentioned Salah alongside Ronaldo, Messi. They never mentioned Lewandowski.
I really don't see why. He is a machine. Finch. He is he is unbelievable. The guy will get you goals no matter where he goes.
I think, and we talked about before underrated players. He's probably sounds crazy. He probably is quite an underrated player just because the amount of goals he gets is just not appreciated. This year, it's going off topic into the bargains, but this year, 34 goals or 53 goals in all competitions, 34
Mm.
in the league. Those are Messi, Ronaldo figures,
Yeah,
but they're not appreciated as Messi, Ronaldo. Like he's got more goals than Messi this year. He's got more goals than
exactly.
Ronaldo in all competitions as well.
Me and Finch were saying before the podcast about how the Ballon d'Or has unfortunately been cancelled this year, and how him, Lewandowski, and De Bruyne would be shoo-ins really for it, for the accolade.
It would be
Definitely
just
deserves something like that.
definitely. It would be just a matter of, I guess, the FIFA World Player of the Year will be up for grabs, hopefully still. And that'll be
Yeah,
a matter of who wins the Champions League, I think. So if Lewandowski inspires Bayern to win that, then he
he's
should really
got
get
to.
it.
If
Yeah,
Bayern
yeah, yeah.
Munich win the he's got to win it. Being Champions League top goal scorer, he's got to. All the goals he's got in the Bundesliga title. They won the Bundesliga equivalent of the FA Cup. They've had a fantastic year, and if they can cap it off with Champions League, then Lewandowski for me has to win the Ballon d'Or or the FIFA World Player of the Year.
Definitely. At least
Has
one of
to.
them.
Yeah,
I
without a doubt.
think it's time to go on to, I think we've got two quite good players there, so it's going to be quite hard. So I
We
don't know.
started
Don't
the
know if you want
podcast
to
off
try and.
really, really well. The rest of the players are just going to be like, we can't compare.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to go next because I know I won't be able to live up to those expectations. So I think I'm going to
Oof,
pass over to you.
do it then, Finch. Right, I'm looking at my list now. I'm thinking who can sort of challenge Company and Lewandowski. Not many of them. But I'm gonna say, what I'm gonna go for. It's gonna be quite interesting. I'm gonna go for a £1 million player.
Oof.
I'm gonna
Wow.
go for Jamie Vardy to Leicester for £1 million.
Oof. What a shout. Wasn't
Yeah,
on my
I
list.
think.
Didn't even think of
Yeah,
him.
no, he was a bit of an unsung hero, really, of the Premier League. He scored. I think he scored over 100 Premier League goals now.
Yep, he
And
has.
a player that come to Leicester back in 2011, from playing non-league football just a few years before that, he would have never have thought that he'd have Champions League experience, big money moves, like links. I'm talking about to Arsenal, even Atletico Madrid at one point, Man United, Chelsea, all on their radars. He'd had a Premier League title. Who would have thought it from that little Jamie Vardy from Fleetwood? And I don't think Leicester expected it, but they had a big bargain on their hands. And honestly, Jamie Vardy is not the only bargain that they've had. There's some other players that I want to talk about later on, but I think he could get the biggest accolade of being their best bargain for all that he's done. You know, helped them gain promotion, helped them survive in the Premier League, and helped them win the Premier League title. And also keep growing stronger and stronger. They're trying to challenge the top four. No doubt that they'll spend some money over the summer and try and challenge again for the top four. But I know what they won't do. They won't, or I don't know if they will, but they shouldn't, because they've got Jamie Vardy. There's no need to bring in another striker. That's what I mean, Finch. This guy guarantees goals. He guarantees the goals.
Yeah.
I think he is up there. He could be up there, actually. I say Company could get it. Lewandowski could definitely get it. But Jamie Vardy for £1 million. You think all he's done for Leicester? Little Leicester.
Yeah,
The
and
strike could be up there
that's
for
a
the
very
biggest
good
bargain.
show. A very good show. I guess like who would have known? So 2012 and 8 years when they signed him, 8 years later, he's the Premier League top goal scorer again. Who would have
Premier League
thought
top
that?
goal
Actually,
scorer.
yeah, Premier League top goal scorer, Premier League
Premier League
winner.
champion, Champions League, got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
Yeah, scored in the Champions League a fair few times. Scored in the Euros against Wales,
Had the
obviously.
opportunity to leave Leicester because Arsenal activated his release clause. He stayed, rejected it, and just managed to hit Leicester to new heights. You know, he's sort of trying to make them be the next big team in this top 6 that we've got.
And the crazy thing about this one is that back in 2012, I remember, you say 1 million like it's nothing now, but back in 2012, that 1 million was a non-league record. When obviously Leicester Championship club are buying a player from a non-league club in Fleetwood, and everyone thought at the time, wow, you're paying £1 million for a player in non-league. What the hell are you doing? That's crazy. That's madness. That people were saying at the time, they would have never thought Vardy 8 years later would be considered for a bargain because £1 million seemed like ridiculous money for a non-league player. But now when you look at it, that was actually unbelievable business to get Vardy for £1 million, and to think it's now scored. You got a player for non-league for £1 million. Now he's scored 100 Premier League goals for you.
Yeah,
you would have never thought that was true when Leicester signed him. No. He said to Leicester, "You're going to sign this player for £1 million from non-league, and it's gonna help inspire you to get to the Premier League, and then he's going to score over 100 Premier League goals for you, in which you'll win the Premier League during one of those seasons." If someone said that to the Leicester chairman buying the player, it'd be unheard of. It's absolutely unbelievable what he's done there, and I guess it's similar, but almost probably better than Lewandowski's achievement. Because Lewandowski went to the Bundesliga and absolutely dominated, scored tons of goals for Dortmund, but he didn't inspire the club from a lower division to a higher division and to win competitions. Dortmund were obviously a big club already. Them and Bayern for years have been the biggest clubs in that league. So Germany, it's a bit different. Yeah, it's a bit different. He had the platform there. Jurgen Klopp was there. They had several good players already when he arrived. Leicester, completely different ball game. That's a really, really good shout for £1 million. What is done there?
Seriously, could be the best bargain.
Really, and it's not like they signed him when he was like 16 years old and then developed him that way. They signed him when he was, how old is he now?
25 years old.
Yeah, so 8 years ago, 25 years old when they signed him. So he wasn't a young player. He was in just before his prime, really. So that, and to do what he did, Championship, got a fair few goals there, Premier League, amazing what he's done there. Been very consistent. Very consistent.
I remember that game against United, Finch, where they beat him 5-3. He scored a couple of banging goals there.
Yeah, he actually struggled, didn't he, in that first season? And then that sort of set him alight. Those goals right at the end, and then the following year, everyone knows what happens. But even this year, I was thinking he actually got the Premier League top goal scorer before, but he didn't, did he? Because the year they won the Premier League, Kane got it. So this is the first time this year he has actually got the Premier League top goal scorer, which is absolute madness.
Yeah, incredible, Finch. And like I said before, Leicester, I don't think they'll go out to buy a striker in the transfer market because they don't need one. They've tried it before. They bought Slimani for 29 million, and £1 million Jamie Vardy outlived him. You know, he soared past him. He couldn't get into the team because of how well Jamie Vardy's done.
Same with Iheanacho. He can't get in the team.
Exactly. They spent 18 million on Iheanacho?
I think it's more. I think it's 25 mil.
Was it 25 mil? There you go.
Yeah.
So that's nearly £50 million on strikers, Slimani, Iheanacho, when you've got 100 Premier League goal Jamie Vardy for £1 million.
Yeah, and also that crazy thing about Vardy is he doesn't seem to get injured. He plays and plays and plays. 33 years old now. People say his diet is Red Bull and chocolate, but it seems to work for him. It's playing. He plays. Look at his stats here. It's never played less than 34 games in the Premier League, and it's been in the Premier League since 2014. So that's like 6 years. 6 years in the Premier League, never played less than 34 games. You're doing something, right? And if Red Bull works, I think everyone should be in the Red Bull. Especially company should be in the Red Bull last few years of his career if he was getting injured. Get in the Red Bull and chocolate. Mate. That's something right.
What a player Jamie Vardy was, or still is. He's just getting better with age.
The only sad thing about Jamie Vardy is he's got a wife who seems to love being in the news with
Oh
Colleen
yeah.
Rooney.
Good old
Agatha
Rebecca.
Christie. It seems like something's going on there. So maybe, yeah, who knows what's going on there. But that keeps him in the news. I'm sure he'd probably rather
Yeah.
just be in the news about his goal scoring, not
His
not
football ability rather than his misses.
yeah, not his misses and Wayne Rooney's misses having a legal court case against one another. So yeah, I have to see. But yeah, God, this is going to be quite hard to follow it now.
Another, here we go, Finch. Try and top that one for £1 million.
Oh, this is quite hard to top. So we've had Company, we've had Lewandowski, we've had Vardy, 3 players who are world class. Really, you can't really deny that.
Yeah.
Some people might argue Vardy's not world class. It's Premier League top goal scorer, the best league in the world. He's world class. I think I'm going to have to go back to defence, and I'm going to go to a player you'll know quite well. You'll know very well, actually. I think at times he's still in the Premier League right now, and it's quite interesting because at times at this club, he's actually been named by various pundits as the best defender in the league. And at times, probably not at the moment, but at times, I think it's undeniable. And he's been an absolute bargain for Chelsea. When he came in, no one really knew who he was. He came in from Marseille back in 2012, and that's Cesar Azpilicueta.
Fantastic.
Absolute, yeah. And you'll know him extremely well. Probably on your list as well.
Yeah. Oh, and, yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3 on my list, behind Company and Lewandowski.
6.5 mil. Absolutely unreal. He's had 271 appearances just in the league for Chelsea, which is an unreal return for 6.5 mil. Not just appearances. What he's done for Chelsea, he's won everything but the Champions League for them. So obviously he came in season after
we won the Champions League. Yeah.
No one really knew who he was because you bought Hazard that same time. I think you bought Oscar the same time as well. There was a lot bigger names.
Oscar, that was it.
And everyone thought, okay, Azpilicueta, it's probably a good
player. Squad player,
yeah, squad player. But what he's done ever since is he's been right back, he's been left back, has been the best right back in the league, been the best left back in the league.
Left back, centre back.
Yeah, and various times in the spells, they obviously Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher are probably respected as the best pundits, and they've been asked various times who do you think the best defender is in the league, and a lot of the times they've been asked that, they said Cesar Azpilicueta. That's because how good defender he's been. His reading of the game, it's just overall play is absolutely unreal. And the surprising thing is he hasn't been in the Premier League Team of the Year once, which I found absolutely incredible.
That is shocking.
Considering how important he's been to Chelsea.
Especially in the 2014-15 season, because he was the best left back in the league at that point. He was fantastic.
But when you have other players, ex-players like Carragher and Neville say he's the best defender in the league, then you've got to be bloody good. So
you got to be doing something right.
Yeah, it's surprising that he hasn't been in that team of the year. But nonetheless, even though he hasn't won that team of the year, everyone knows how good he's been. To win the Premier League twice, the FA Cup, Europa League twice, Football League or EFL Cup, whatever you want to call that, he's won that. He has been an absolutely crucial figure for Chelsea, and without him, they probably wouldn't have won all these competitions. Because obviously Chelsea's biggest downfall recently has been the defence, but without Azpilicueta, who would have known what they would have been like this year even?
He's been Mr. Reliable for sure.
Yeah. You'd probably be able to talk about him for hours, how good he's been.
He has been phenomenal for Chelsea, and one of the biggest bargains that we've had in the last 8 to 10 years. Honestly, I'd say one that rivals it in the last sort of 10 years would probably be Gary Cahill for $7 million. And a lot of people give me sticks saying Gary Cahill weren't that good, but in my opinion, I think Gary Cahill was one of the best centre backs in the league consistently for the last 6 years, from 2013 to 2013 to 2017, when we won the league with Conte. I think Cahill was phenomenal, definitely up there with the best. But
I think talking about Cahill, it was a bit of a tragedy last year that Conte just didn't play him. Sarri didn't play him. Sorry, not Conte. I'm getting my Italians mixed up. Sarri didn't play him. Made no sense to me. You see this year before he got that injury, absolutely unbelievable for Crystal Palace.
Yeah, unbelievable player for Palace.
He's not
Absolutely
exactly that old for
fantastic.
the defender either.
34,
Yeah, 34.
but he can still do it. He's probably been Crystal Palace's player of the season. I think, did he get? Was it Milivojevic who got it? One of them
Definitely
two
up
got
there.
it. Yeah, definitely up there. He has really saved Palace from relegation, and he was just such a hero for Chelsea. Just like Azpilicueta, them two at the back for a combined total of just under 15 million, and they've won it all. Cahill's won it all. Azpilicueta's nearly won it all, just hasn't won the Champions League.
Mm. It's not
Always
bad, really,
reliable
is
at
it?
the back. They score vital goals too. I'm including both of these. I'm going to say both Cahill and Azpilicueta as a double sort of pairing because they are so incredible. They only come within a year of each other. The fee was pretty much almost the same, and the returns almost been the same. Just no Champions League for Aspi. But
Yeah.
Finch, so good. So good at the back.
I'd put Azpilicueta a little bit ahead of Cahill just because he's been there a little bit longer. And I think, I just say, outside the point of view, I think
Played more as well. Played more.
A bit more crucial, yeah. And he obviously now is the captain. He's played more. He's been there longer. He's the captain now.
Yeah, he took over from Cahill, didn't he, as captain?
And obviously, I just think an absolutely incredible player. What he's done for Chelsea, I just think he's one of those players. It's almost like companies, almost had the influence what company did at City to Chelsea, to how good he was in defence. And you think about Chelsea when they won the league in those years, was it 14, 15 specifically? Even when Conte came in, we played three at the back, how crucial Azpilicueta was in that three at the back.
Oh, it's fantastic in the three at the back.
Because he made David Luiz look like a prime.
Yeah. He made David Luiz look world class. Him and Gary Cahill and Aspi at the back were formidable. And he had that cover. He put Marcus Alonso in his best position at left wing back. Marcus Alonso at left wing back is the best left wing back in the league. But defending, he's absolutely shocking. But when they got past Alonso, they had to deal with Azpilicueta. And Azpilicueta he's not an easy guy to get past.
That's why that system worked so well for Conte, because Azpilicueta was suited to that system perfectly, and he'd make David Luiz look good next to him. He'd make Alonso look good on the other side. That's why he was that good. And David Luiz, he'd make mistakes, but then Azpilicueta was there to clear them up. Alonso, he'd make mistakes, and then Azpilicueta was there again to clear it up. So he almost made players. You always know how good a player is if they make other players look better. You saw with the other day, Man City, Madrid, and they're missing Ramos, and suddenly Varane looked out of place. And that shows how good Ramos is. And I think it'd be the same. I think when Azpilicueta does go from Chelsea, it's going to be a big issue.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to replace him. And the other thing that I was thinking of, Finch, you think of how many managers that Azpilicueta has played under at his time in Chelsea. He's always been starting. They've always picked him as their starting left back, right back, centre back under Mourinho, Benitez, Villas-Boas, Sarri, Conte, Lampard. He's always been there. Always. Gus Hiddink. They always stick Azpi because Azpi is Mr. Reliable.
Yeah, and the man who signed him, Di Matteo. It's crazy to think Di Matteo was the man who signed him. That shows how many managers he's played for. He's another one.
How many managers was that? Was like 8, 9?
Yeah, almost a different manager every year.
Yeah.
And we were saying before about Vardy, like, he basically plays every game. Azpilicueta is exactly the same. First 3 years, he played around 29 appearances, but ever since then, he's played either 36, 37, or 38. So he's basically played since 2015. He's played an average of 37 per year, which isn't bad. So you're just missing one game.
He doesn't get a lot of injuries, Azpi. Yeah, he got an injury in the FA Cup final, unfortunately, pulled his hamstring. Hopefully that's not too long an injury, and he'll be back in time for the start of the season.
We definitely go down Chelsea legend now. And that's
without that, he is fantastic. Well, absolutely fantastic.
Definitely a bargain. I know another weird thing. We're saying he hasn't been the team of the year. Also, just 25 appearances for Spain, which is incredible.
Yeah, I guess they go with Spain. it used to be a case of Spain would love to stay in La Liga when picking their team. I think that was the reason behind that. So Jordi Alba would always get a nod ahead of him.
Yeah, that did seem to be the case. It's for years I thought Azpilicueta. He's only really recently, last, let's say, 3-4 years, has been given the opportunity at Spain.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been given 2012,
It is
2015.
bizarre because he can play. He can play anyway. He can play right back. He can play centre back, left back. He'll do a shift for you anyway.
Yeah, so we've got 4 players there who are absolutely unreal and pure bargains. Don't know how we can go better than that. We've somehow carried the trend on. I thought after company,
I know.
We're gonna have a hard
would
time.
Struggle, but Jesus, my God. Okay, I'm gonna go for another one here. For Leicester, I'm gonna pick. It's out of one of the two. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to go for Riyad Mahrez back in 2014, signing for Championship Club Leicester in the January transfer window for 400,000, Finch. 400k he signed for Leicester back in 2014. Helped them reach promotion, then helped them stay up in the 2014-15 season, and then he had that insane year in the 2015-16 season to help Leicester lift their first Premier League title. Them 50,000, their 5,000 to 1 odds, they smashed it. Absolutely smashed it. He's been a baller. Whenever you think of skills in the Premier League, you think of Riyad Mahrez. Unbelievable baller, scores fantastic goals, wands with a left foot, fantastic playmaker, does it consistently, time after time. And then, to repay Leicester, he gets them 60 million in 2018, going to Man City.
Definitely. What a player he was for Leicester. Just 400k. It's absolutely crazy to go for that fee. And obviously, he went to Leicester I think a season after Vardy. He went to Leicester the year they went up. And wasn't amazing that first year in the Championship, but went to the Premier League. Absolutely incredible. Went there, really found his feet in that first year where they stayed up. And then the next year, like you said, 17 goals, 37 appearances. Was the PFA Premier League Player of the Year. I know he probably wanted to go on to bigger and better things, but did stay at the club a little bit longer, which is
helped him in the Champions League.
Yeah, helped him in the Champions League, helped him overall. And that 17-18 season, a really, really good return. The year he left, 12 goals, 36 appearances. And overall, probably all going to go down as a Leicester legend because he spent, I think, 4 years in the Premier League there, 5 years overall. Absolutely incredible player. And you just, even now, he's one of those players, very one-footed, but you can't do anything about it. When he goes into his left foot, when he cuts into that left foot, you can't stop him.
No. He is unbelievable. A fantastic player of the Premier League. So enjoyable to watch. The skills that he can produce is mind-boggling at the end of the day.
No, he's just, he always cuts back as well, doesn't he? It fools players every time. He cuts in on almost the left-hand side, then cuts back almost to his right foot. And it fools players every time. He doesn't just cut back, he almost rolls his foot over the ball, doesn't he? He always does that, and always seems to work. I've never seen it not work, to be honest. It always fools players. And what a player. And obviously it shows Man City at the moment, it shows how good he is, that they're almost happy to let Sane go because they have Mahrez playing.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's
he managed to bench Bernardo Silva. That's how good a player that Riyad Mahrez is. I really rate Bernardo Silva. I think he's world class. I think he's one of the best dribblers on the ball in the world. Probably even like second or third to Lionel Messi. But Riyad Mahrez on the ball, that's a different kettle of fish. He is absolutely fantastic. He will get you goals, assists. He'll guarantee you success.
Definitely. And it's not crazy to think we're saying he's bargain because now Man City is the most expensive African footballer of all time. And I think, is he Man City's most expensive signing?
I believe he is still Man City's record signing, yeah.
Yeah.
60
That's
million,
the thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy when this is what people always, it's worth saying, I don't know what I'm saying, a little bit of a side topic, but people always say that Man City don't spend much. Like, look at Liverpool and 75 million Van Dijk. Look at Chelsea, looks like they're going to spend 80 million on Havertz. Look at United spending 90 million on Pogba. Man City fans always say, like, oh, we look at our record fee, 60 million. But the difference with Man City, they've spent so many 50 and 60 millions, they all add up. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Chelsea haven't spent many 50 millions. United haven't spent many. If you add them all together, they spent a fair few, but not as many as Man City. They haven't spent many 50, 60 million pound players.
No.
Arsenal haven't. Tottenham haven't. Except that's the difference with Man City. They might not have spent 75 million, but they spent 50 million, 60 million, 5, 6, 7 times. But look at the amount of times they spent 50 million on fullbacks. They spent it on Mendy, Walker, 40 million on Cancelo. Like, what other club spends 140 million on 140 million on fullbacks?
And then chuck 40 million at Nathan Ake to be in the bench.
Yeah, and then 50 million on centre backs. Like 50 million on. I think the Port was a bit more than 50, but at least 50 on him, 50 on Stones. So that's what I'm saying. It's worth putting out whilst we're talking about transfers that argument about Man City, like with they only spent maximum 60 million on one player, it doesn't add up because it's just the amount of times. It's not like how much you spent on one player; it's the amount you spent overall. And they've spent
a bargain.
Money is like accumulation of so many 15, 16 million pound transfers and 40 million pound transfers. It's unbelievable. That's why that argument doesn't stand out. I thought it was just worth pointing out because that really, it always annoys me that when I see that you can't really compare like Chelsea or United or Liverpool paying 60 million for a player, one really, really good player, like Chelsea, 70 million for Kepa, when you compare to like Man City spending, let's say, 100 million, 140 million on 3 fullbacks.
No.
It's very, very different. And also, you've got to look at the money coming in as well.
Yeah.
And Man City don't bring in nowhere near the same amount of money as any other top team, really. You look at the amount of money Chelsea got recently from Hazard, Morata. You look at the money Liverpool got from Ings, Coutinho, Solanke, all those players. Even Man United.
They don't really tend to make a lot of profit on players, do they?
No, not at all. No, that could be a separate podcast about that.
Yeah, they're on about John Stones going. I really hope not. They're on about John Stones going to Chelsea for 20 million, so like 30 million less than what City paid for him.
God. So that sums it up.
I hope they don't go through.
It'd be interesting to know actually Man City's record transfer sale.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. I can't think back to. It'd be Sane, surely.
How much was he? It was 30 mil? 30 something mil?
No, it's 50 mil.
50 million?
I think so.
Oh, no, it wasn't initial 44 million.
That's it, yeah. 44 million. But I still think that is going to be their biggest sale.
So 44 million is not a huge amount.
Who else there is?
Considering how good Sane is as well. They paid 37 million for him. I don't think it's that much, really. I'm just trying to think who else has gone for him.
I can't think who else they've sold. They seem to have quite a few loyal players when you think about it, for like Yaya Toure, David Silva, Aguero.
I mean, I'd be loyal on £300 per week or something.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what it is? I've just looked up that you're right. Sane's the biggest one, and then it's Danilo. Well, that's a weird one because that was part of that swap deal, wasn't it? Where he was like valued at like 30 million.
Really?
And then do you know what the third one is? Their third biggest ever sale was before they had money. It was Sean Wright-Phillips for 25 mil.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, then Kelechi for 25 mil, Negredo 25 mil, Rubinho 18 mil, Balotelli 18 mil, Diaz 15 mil. There's not significant fees here, really.
No, definitely not.
If you compare it to other clubs where they've got who's running for players. And sold.
Yeah, 100 million, 80 million.
Yeah.
That is bizarre. That is really weird. Never really thought of it like that until we just pointed it out.
Like you see Chelsea, Hazard 105 million or 110 million sold for Liverpool, Coutinho 120 million. 140 million. I think that could be the final figure. Even United have got money for when that Di Maria didn't work out and they sold him very quickly for 45 mil, I think it was.
Yeah, and Lukaku for like 70 mil.
Yeah, so they got their money back in Lukaku pretty much straight away. So yeah, I think that argument was done. But who are we talking about? Mahrez?
Yeah, it's Riyad Mahrez, that's it.
Riyad Mahrez. But yeah, I think whilst talking about Mahrez, you've got to talk about the other Leicester player who was also an absolute bargain in his time.
Go for it, Finchy.
Just 1 year there, but absolute unbelievable in that 1 year he was there. And he made an impression on the league.
Mr. Reliable.
Mr. Reliable. Or you can't have, I don't think there's one other player in world football who could be more reliable than this man, N'Golo Kante. Oh. He came into the league and no one, let's say there's probably 100 people in England who knew who he was. I knew how good he was, let's say.
I never knew.
No one even knew who he was. He came from Caen in France. No one really.
Second league, wasn't it?
Yeah, originally they were in the second league. Then the year before, he went to Leicester. They were in the Ligue 1, first division. So he spent one year in the top flight football in France, but still relatively unknown. And unless you're a French football enthusiast, you're unlikely to know him. He didn't really set the world alight in that league. He was good in that league, didn't set the world alight. And he came to Leicester, not many people knew who he was. And then bloody hell, after the month in the league, he was known as almost the best centre mid in the league. And what he did at Leicester in terms of facilitating them winning that league, he made Danny Drinkwater look like a prime Gattuso almost, prime Pirlo.
Yeah, he made him look amazing. That's why Chelsea paid 30 million for him. Yeah. How good they made him look.
That shows how good he was. He made him look like Gattuso and Pirlo together. Kante, there's never been a player like Kante in the history of football, and that shows how good he was. He made a new position, like people say Makelele position. The Makelele position, it was almost created by Makelele. It's almost a Kante position, Kante role. No one covers as much grass as Kante. No one does what he does in terms of being Mr. Reliable and covering for centre-backs, covering for people in front of him. Almost chased. His ball reading is absolutely incredible. He will get the ball off you. His work ethic is crazy. It seemed like no one goes past Kante. He always gets back at you, and especially that season at Leicester, his first few years at Leicester and Chelsea, he was the best in his position in the whole. He probably is still now, but definitely at that point the best in the world in terms of getting the ball back and releasing the ball quickly. He's developed this game since Leicester as well. He's probably shooting a little bit better. He now has the ability to pick out a pass in the final third. He did at Leicester a bit, but he's built on that a lot more. But in terms of that season at Leicester, his tackling was absolutely incredible. In that year where Leicester won the league, he had 31 more tackles than any other player in the league and 15 more interceptions than any other player. That's what I'm saying. His ball reading is absolutely incredible. It's not even close to any other player in the league. He's ahead by miles in terms of his tackling. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to try and go past Kante, you have no hope. He'll tackle you, or he'll intercept the ball.
He doesn't seem to get tired either. He just is a machine. He just runs like that the whole 90 minutes.
Definitely. He makes players, he allows players around him to play their football and not worry about defensive duties as much, because you got Kante there. He's almost everyone says having Kante next to you is almost like having two players, because he covers so much grass and it's just absolutely unbelievable in terms of how he plays. And I've just never seen a player like him. I don't think you will see a player. The way he plays is completely different.
Unbelievable player. Such an unbelievable talent. Like you said, I highly doubt we'll ever see a player like N'Golo Kante have that impact. That's a straight away impact in the Premier League. You know, the way he adapts to the league is so easy.
And I know we talk about Mahrez, we talked about Vardy, but in my opinion, Kante was the most important player for Leicester in that year. Because when you look at the stats, obviously Vardy, unreal. They couldn't have done it without Vardy or Mahrez, of course. They were absolutely crucial. But I think in terms of importance, it's very, very close. But I'd put Kante just a little bit ahead of him, because what he did to that midfield is such a huge part. It's obviously everyone knows how important midfield is. People vendors like to say the defence is the most important position. Strikers like to say their position is most important, but midfield's right in the centre. And that's where you protect the defence and you give the ball to the strikers to finish. So you're almost in between. Most people, you're in the centre of the pitch and centre mid. So it's quite easy to say that's the most important position if you want to just go by balance of the game. But in my opinion, how he plays the game and how he played the game in that year, I think he was the most important player for Leicester. Just the amount of tackles he got, because that's when you're a smaller team. It's so like Leicester weren't without attacking. A lot of that year they were defending in games, they're holding on to 1-goal leads, and to do that you've got to have an unbelievable defence and
solid
a solid
midfielder.
CDM who can tackle, who can intercept, who can read the game. And he wasn't just good at tackling or intercepting. I said before, he was way ahead of any other player in the league. So that's why I think he was probably the most important player. Just because the way Leicester played, it wasn't like we said before, like how important defensive and attacking positions are. Vardy goals, Mahrez, wing. But Leicester were people forget Leicester were quite defensive that year. They got a goal and then we'd sit back a little bit. And then we'd hold on to 1-goal leads really a lot of the time. And he was so important to that.
He's been absolutely fantastic for them. And like you wouldn't expect it. Looking at him, he looks like the nicest guy ever. And he's not really a big centre defensive midfielder like Patrick Vieira was, or like Roy Keane was, you know. But my word, he outshines them. It's like the way that he can tackle the ball. He hasn't got to be this big brute who just shoves people off the ball. But he still manages to somehow. He still finds that strength from somewhere. He has it all, Finch, in his defensive abilities. He can do it all. Yeah. Fantastic talent.
I just 5.6 million. People in France probably knew who he was, but no one really knew who he was when he came to England. I guess a lot of Leicester fans wouldn't have known, even though he's come to their club, they probably wouldn't have known too much about him at all. Considering what he's done since, and he's got in the Premier League Team of the Year twice, and Leicester obviously got in that Premier League Team of the Year. He was named the FWA Footballer of the Year. It's very rare for a defensive midfielder to be named that. He was obviously named the PFA Player of the Year as well. I guess it was a bit after at Chelsea. You probably count as, although it's a little bit above our £30 million range, only just 32 million. When he went to Chelsea, I'd say it's a bargain with 32 million.
Well, he's the only player to win the Premier League, go to another team, and then win the Premier League with them. It shows you how good N'Golo Kante was, because he was such a big driving force in that Leicester team, in that Chelsea team. He went on to win the PFA Player of the Year at his time in his first season at Chelsea. That's when you had Diego Costa, Eden Hazard, Pedro, Fabregas, all performing incredibly to win us that title. And it was N'Golo Kante, the CDM, who ended up getting that PFA Player of the Year.
And when it showed his impact as well when he came in, because came to Chelsea, he took it to the next level. When he left Leicester, their midfield, their defence wasn't awful, their strike force wasn't awful, because they always had Mahrez, they still had Vardy, but defence just looked like completely lackluster. And even now, they still really miss him, really. Miss that type of player. Indeed, he's almost replaced him a little bit, but they tried to replace him with Mendy, and that just didn't work out. And Drinkwater was never the same after he left, and that just shows how good Kante was in almost making Drinkwater look better and pushing him a little bit. And at Chelsea have been absolutely unreal in midfield since Kante came in, and that's probably a big reason of that is because of Kante. And you look at the other positions Leicester have lost. As we were saying before, it's so easy to see how good a player is when they leave a club, and you almost see the whole. And you look at Leicester when Mahrez left. He was obviously absolutely incredible for Leicester, but I don't think they've really missed him that much.
They haven't missed him not as much as they've missed N'Golo Kante.
There's Kante, absolutely unbelievable player. And I think the difference is with him, he doesn't try to beat any other player. Like a lot of players are trying to be different kinds of players, maybe not suited to their own game, but he just tries to be play his own game and be himself. And that's why he's as good as he is.
It's absolutely fantastic, Finch. We've got a really, really, really good list going on here. Absolutely fantastic. Who have we got on the list so far? And we've got Vincent Kompany, Robert Lewandowski, Jamie Vardy, Riyad Mahrez, Cesar Azpilicueta, N'Golo
Oof.
Kante, and Gary Cahill. My
Oof.
word.
Give me hard,
Do you have any more that you want to add to this list?
I think I've got a few, but I think only one of them
They're
can
only good.
compete.
Yeah.
One of them can
Go
compete.
for it.
Two maybe. Two
I've
maybe
got
can
honorary
compete.
mentions, but there's no.
Yeah.
They can't compete really.
I think it's worth bringing as well that when we talk about these players being absolute bargains, we're talking about them almost making a pretty immediate impact at that point. Because obviously you have players like Ronaldo who were bought. He's 12 million from Sporting. I think it was back in 2003 or 2000. I think it's 2003. Just for 12 million, Man United bought him for. Absolutely, look what he did. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or at United and did absolutely incredible in the Champions League, won everything there. But at the time, it's hard to talk about him as a bargain because he was a bargain for that fee. But it's because United developed him into that player. He wasn't like bought in as that player. Whereas like Kante, he made immediate impression, led Leicester to the league straight away. Whereas it's a bit different from Ronaldo. That's why it's hard to call him a bargain because almost he was brought in as a young player when he was in 2003. I think he was 18. So it's very different in terms of that because actually United really developed him, which is quite different to calling him a bargain because United Alex Ferguson helped develop him. So I think it's worth mentioning, but it doesn't really fit the criteria really. And the other one I was going to say, who possibly could compete with the likes of Kante, Lewandowski, company, and definitely compete on trophies, is Marcelo. So back in 2007, came to Madrid from Fluminense, I don't know if I'm saying that right, from Brazil, just for, I think it was about 8 million. And what he's done at Madrid since, over 400 appearances, he's won everything there. And I think the first year he didn't play much, second year, ever since that second year, back in 2007, 2008, it's been their starting left back, and for most of those years, been the best left back in the world. Won 5 La Ligas, just the 4 Champions League, just the 4 Club World Cups. Absolutely unbelievable player, and one of the best players, best left backs, definitely in the history of the game.
Yeah, without doubt, Finch. When you think of fantastic left back, I mean, even in this day and age, he's still got it. He can still put a shift in. He's been so consistent for Real Madrid that left back spot that was left there by Roberto Carlos, another legend of the game, it was completely straight away covered in by Marcelo. You know, he had big boots to fill, Finch, and I think he's done a fantastic job of that.
Definitely. I think it's worth mentioning, but again, he developed a lot with the club, didn't he? So I don't know. It's difficult. I think he's a really, really good bargain, but he developed a lot with the club. They almost brought him in when he was very, very young. So I don't know if he's a bargain, but it doesn't feel like a true bargain to me when I think of a bargain. You know what I mean? He developed a lot with the club.
I've got a good one then.
Go on.
Which could compete. Back in 2004, the Abramovich takeover goes into immediate effect. We start buying these absolutely fantastic players, Carvalho, etc. One player who no one really knew about whatsoever. He comes from France, big Czech Republican. I'm talking about Petr Cech for £7 million from Stade Rennes to Chelsea. Immediate impact straight away into the starting 11. And Chelsea go on to have one of the best seasons ever, Finch. They only conceded 15 goals, thanks to the defence of Cech, Terry, Carvalho. He kept a clean sheet record for so long until it was broken by Van der Sar. Another bargain, by the way, Edwin van der Sar.
2 million.
But
you had to fill him back in 2005.
But Petr Cech, for me, in my personal opinion, the best goalkeeper of all, the best Premier League goalkeeper of all time. Unbelievable. He won it all at Chelsea. He won because of his saves. Like we said before, a few podcasts back about the most underrated, or I can't remember what the podcast was. It was about the best teams in the Champions League. And we said about the 2012 Chelsea team and how vital Peter Cech was. You know, saving that penalty in the Champions League final. It could easily Robin could easily have scored the rebound. Peter Cech got straight back up, huddled over the ball, and made sure that we made it to penalties, and then saved penalties in the penalty shootout. Absolutely, he was such a consistent performer. Obviously, he got that really bad injury back in 2007, but he just come back stronger with the helmet. A very, very consistent performer for Chelsea in his time there. I'd say he's 100% a club legend, and I think he should be up there in this biggest bargains list.
Yeah, that is a very, very good chat, and it's definitely probably the biggest bargain overall as a goalkeeper. Obviously,
yeah,
we're just looking at 25 years that rules out Schmeichel. I think 1991 he went from Brøndby to United, just for 400k, and what he did at United, absolutely unbelievable. 1991 to 1999, 292 appearances in the Premier League, won the Champions League, phenomenal goalkeeper. Everyone, you're a bloody good goalkeeper if people remember a specific image, a specific goalkeeping stance you have, because there's not much to be remembered as a goalkeeper. You can't be remembered for a specific type of skill, but everyone knows Schmeichel will make himself big. So I think it's worth mentioning, but it's just a bit before our like time range. But yeah, checked what a goalkeeper, and that fee, 7 million. You try and get a goalkeeper for 7 million now, it's almost impossible to get a goalkeeper that good.
Not even a championship goalkeeper you'd get that good for 7 mil.
I just think that's absolutely incredible. Right, and I think whilst we're talking about that as well, I think we mentioned him briefly, but Van der Sar in 2005 from United to Fulham, very good goalkeeper at Fulham, but he was getting on at that point. I think he was in his mid-30s when he went to, early 30s when he went to United. And what he did there, winning title after title, also winning the Champions League, was absolutely crazy. I think, 2005, so he's 49 now, so 14 years ago. He was 35 when he went to United. It was absolutely crazy, buying him a 35-year-old goalkeeper. And he was almost the first goalie he was able to replace Schmeichel. And that showed how good he was. And he had such a long career, Van der Sar. He went from winning, I think, the best European goalkeeper award in 1995 when Ajax won the Champions League, to winning again in 2009 when just after United won the Champions League in 2008. So he was an absolutely incredible goalkeeper. Got to 3 Champions League finals at United as well. Won, I think it was 4 Premier League titles. 4 Premier League titles. Absolutely incredible.
He holds the clean sheet record as well.
I think them two, Cech and Van der Sar, absolute bargains as goalkeepers. And those kind of fees of goalkeepers, getting them for that cheap. And the difference is with those two as well, you don't just get them for that cheap, they made instant impact. So Cech, Chelsea got on probably maybe their greatest season ever in terms of Premier League season, obviously not counting Champions League that year. Van der Sar came in and United instantly were absolutely unbelievable. He won, they didn't win the Premier League that year, but won the League Cup, and he almost transformed the defence again. Transformed the goalkeeper position was a position which United struggled with at that time, because they tried several different goalkeepers to replace Schmeichel. None of them really fitted. And even big name goalkeepers as well, like Barthez, signed for fairly big money, didn't work out, and then Van der Sar came in, 2 million, absolute bargain. So I think they're two really good shouts. And the only other one I have is a bargain, but he's probably one of the most appreciated bargains. If you go on Twitter and type in bargain, probably can't with his name, because everyone likes to say he's a bargain. Actually, I've got 2 of them, 2 fullbacks, and they probably both come up as bargains. And they probably come up because they're competing, these supporters, for who's the biggest bargain. They both like to think this player's a bargain. Well, one side of the city likes to think this player's the biggest bargain. One side of the city likes to think this player's the biggest bargain. I'm going to start off with Andy Robertson. So the left back came in from Hull, 8 million back in 2017, and obviously before they had Moreno, and I think he cost about 15 million from Sevilla. And it took a bit of time for Robertson to actually get in the team, but ever since then, he's not looked back, and he's been absolutely incredible. And the stats he gets in terms of his assists, the stats align more with a central attacking midfielder, not a left back. 12 assists this year. in the Premier League. We're just talking Premier League. 11 assists the year before. It's absolutely incredible. And people obviously concentrate on Trent a lot, but in terms of the assists he gets. But Robertson gets a crazy amount of assists. I think it was only De Bruyne and Trent who finished above him in terms of assists in the league this year. And that, as a left back, that's absolutely crazy. And people probably just, I don't think actually people give him enough credit as a left back because they concentrate on Trent and say how unbelievable he is. But the amount of assists Robertson gets is absolutely incredible. And we talk about Kante's work effort. Robertson has a crazy work effort too.
He doesn't stop running.
8 million, absolute bargain.
Yeah, that's a fantastic shout.
And the other one I thought was quickly worth mentioning is Seamus Coleman. Because obviously Everton have that chant. I can't remember how it goes, but something about like 60 grand, 60 grand, 60 grand. Something. Some more words. Seamus Coleman. They Everton fans always think Seamus Coleman's the biggest bargain out there, and it's hard to argue that because 60 grand for Sligo Rovers, it's been one of the best Premier League right backs in his time. Really, he's been absolutely incredible. He obviously had injuries and recent history, which has slowed him down a little bit more, but he's still a very, very good right back. And for about 5 years, he was absolutely incredible. Him and Baines were arguably the best fullbacks in the league either side. Baines is probably another one, which is a bargain, but not the levels we're talking about. But I think Seamus Coleman with 60 grand was absolutely incredible. Came in and first few years as well, he scored a few goals every year and obviously got into the team of the year in 2013-14.
He was fantastic for fantasy Premier League points.
Just sad last few years. I think it's back in 2017 he got a bad injury. It just hasn't been the same.
He got a really bad. It was playing for Ireland, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think, is he captain for Ireland? I think he is captain, isn't he?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that though.
Yeah, no, he is. So we talked about just their two fullbacks, Robinson and Coleman, and they're both captains of their countries as well, signed for small fees.
Crazy.
Have you got any more to go through?
Just a quick shout. So he was only here, really, his impact was only a season. You know I'm about Finch. He's arguably the greatest one-season wonder ever in Premier League. 2 million from Rayo Vallecano to Swansea City. I'm on about Michu. Whether he can be, obviously he will be considered a bargain. But I can't really put him in the best bargains ever. But if this was a list of the best one-season wonders ever, he'd probably win it. He'd win it, yeah. Unreal this year. Back in 2012-13. But absolutely fantastic player. Helped Swansea gain that European success, like getting into Europe by winning the League Cup. But then he had did he have quite a bad knee injury? Was it in pre-season or just as the season started? And it just went all downhill from there. He didn't really crack on from that fantastic, successful first season in England. But for £2 million, what a return he gave them.
Definitely. I think like that player, Michu, absolutely crazy good player during that season at Swansea. And the 2 million, it's an absolute snip because he was quite good for Rayo Vallecano as well. I think he got a fair few goals for them that year. So I don't know how Swansea managed to get 2 million, but it was absolutely crazy. I think on that, I've just got a couple of players who probably also just quickly pointing out, but not worth talking about them in the same bracket because for one reason or another, the players we talked about have been the best bargains ever. But I think they're worth bringing up these type of players. So firstly, Jovic, when he went from Benfica to Frankfurt just for 7 mil when they made that permanent. Obviously, that later that summer, crazy that he went to Madrid for nearly 60 million, which is unbelievable business in one window. Van Persie, when he went from Feyenoord to Arsenal, 2.75 mil. But then the thing against that is that it took him a few years to get up to speed of the league and develop and be that striker for Arsenal. So that's the reason against that. And the other player probably worth mentioning is Coutinho when he went from Inter to Liverpool just for 8.5 million. Absolutely unbelievable. And that to think that he went for 140 mil a few years later, that shows how cheap he was. And he made an instant impression at Liverpool as well. I remember they signed Sturridge and him in at January, and he was absolutely unreal when he came in, him and Sturridge. And the last player I think is worth mentioning is player you probably wouldn't think of too much, actually. But then while I was thinking about this, I thought he's got to be in it. He's just got to be. You got to talk about it. And he went to Hull back in 2016 for £1 million. Right. I thought at the time, what incredible business is that? And I think you know who I'm talking about.
Oh,
You know?
you say it, Finchy.
Oh, it's Will King, of course.
Oh my God.
You just can't deny it. He went for £1 million from United to Hull back in 2016, and 26 appearances for Hull, no competitions, and 1 goal. What a bargain he was. Left Hull, great terms, free transfer.
Let's just end the podcast now, because that is the best bargain ever.
I can't believe it was released by Hull, to be honest. But yeah, I thought it was an absolute bargain for £1 million.
Oh.
And also we always try to include Will Keane, because to think he's a Premier League footballer, he was at one point a Premier League footballer when he was signed by Hull, was absolutely incredible.
Somehow
Goes beyond my belief, so that's why we include him. But yeah, I've got no one else apart from that.
No, that's my list done as well.
God, who are we going to go with? We had Company, Lewandowski, Marcelo, Mahrez, Conte, Robinson, Czech,
Jamie Vardy.
You know, I'm feeling
I'm
Vardy.
tempted to go Vardy. I'm feeling Vardy as well for £1 million. Like, other than Mahrez, this is the second least expensive player. But for what Vardy's done, more for less than what Mahrez has done.
It's a different flavour, isn't it? Because he's not just gone to the club and like done well. He's gone to the club and taken the upper division, and then
taking them
not
up,
just taking them up the division. It helped them survive and helped them win the league, and stayed there as well. When you talk
exactly, and then
you talk about bargains.
Top 4.
Yeah, we're talking about bargains. We're talking about their impact at the club. Like Conte, incredible impact at the club, but just 1 season there. So it's hard. Obviously, that 1 season was the best season ever in Leicester's history. But Vardy, he's not just had 1 season. He's stayed there, made more records, and it's been loyal to a club. So it's been a true bargain, and that's I guess one of the reasons why Company would be up there as well. But I think I'm leaning. In my opinion, Vardy or Company, if we're looking at what a bargain is in terms of going to a club, making a huge impact, then the impact, I guess Company had a huge impact because Man City weren't a huge club beforehand, but he had a lot of help from different players.
Exactly. Company had that world-class help from, obviously, they had a big transfer, like, takeover. They had all that money flooded in. Leicester didn't have that. The 3 signs that Leicester made to help them win that title, it was Vardy for £1 million, Kante for £5 million, and Mahrez for 400k. You know, that's just under 7 million. Just under 7 million for 3 world-class players.
That is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I'd say Jamie. We got to give it Jamie Vardy. I think is the biggest bargain ever.
And to think what is still a complete bargain now, because what he's doing at the club is at 33 years old, top goal scorer in the Premier League, is driving them to 5th place. He almost got 4th place, driving them to 5th place to Europe in this year. That is absolutely crazy to think what he's done at the club, and he keeps driving them, and the impact he makes. Because this year, it's undeniable that it's been one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason they got 5th place and got European football. His goals in finishing the Premier League top goal scorer. So you can't argue £1 million. And I think the crazy thing about this, I said before, at the time, £1 million seemed a huge amount of money for a non-league player, and now for what he's done, it seems like the smallest bit of change out there. Yeah. Like, what can you get for £1 million in the market now? You probably get Will Keane, and that's about it.
No, you can't. You get like 3 Will Keanes, I'm sure.
Yeah, but you couldn't.
If that,
you can't even get
$1 million. If it was my way, you'd be able to get fucking 2 million Will Keanes, 50p player.
If it was my way, I'd get paid $1 million to take on Will Keane. Not, you're going to pay him. But I think I'm trying to think. What's the most recent player I can think of who went for $1 million? I can't even think of a player. Maybe at Ipswich, we bought a player, Emir Hughes, for $1 million a few years ago. That's the only thing I can think of. There's not many players. No. And it's in the Premier League, you see go for $1 million, unless they're like real youth products, really. Youth products nowadays, 17, 18-year-olds go for $1 million, unproven youth products. So to get him for $1 million is absolutely crazy. I can't think of what you can actually get for $1 million. But definitely the Premier League mark, Championship. Obviously, there's a few £1 million players going about, but definitely not in.
Maybe like a good
Premier League.
tier League One player, maybe.
Yeah, I guess even though like Will Grigg went for more than $1 million.
Exactly, that's the thing.
It's just,
Maybe even League
shined.
Two.
Yeah, he's just shined the League
So
Two
much
player.
money in football now. So yeah, exactly. There's so much money in football now. It's probably like League Two and like high end non-league player.
Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, it's just signed Kane Jackson, striker, 2 years ago, 2019. We signed him from 2018, 2019 that season. I think we signed him start that season, 2018 summer from Accrington Stanley in League Two. Signed him for 1.5 mil, and he scored. Didn't score a huge amount in League Two that year. Scored 16 goals for Accrington. So shows what you get nowadays. So I think
that was it, Finch.
I think we've got to go with Vardy then. So our biggest bargain in the last 25 years, who costs under 30 million. He costs well under 30 million. Who fulfills all our other criteria in not being a free transfer and in that time range. That's Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy is the biggest bargain out there. For £1 million, he's having a party, and for £1 million, what do you get? You get a Premier League top goal scorer. You get BKs, you get Red Bull, you get chocolate bars, you get a Premier League, you get just the one Premier League to go along with it. You get promotion, you get salvation in the Premier League. He keeps you up. He'll get you a Premier League. He'll get you top scorer, and you have a few parties along the way, a few VKs, a few Red Bulls. What more can you want? That's Jamie Vardy.
That is Jamie Vardy for you. The best bargain of the last 25 years.
Over and out.